Very often we try to stop our children from crying, and most of the time this is not making them a favor, unfortunately. For example, when they fall off, we, for example, distract them, so look at the plane or look at the toy, or we put them on the breast so they stop crying, or we might minimize their feelings, telling them things like, you're okay, that was not that bad. And the reason why we're distracting our children is because we've noticed that when we distract them from the pain, they cry less, so we kind of get in the habit of giving them minimal attention when they fall off. But this is not ideal, and I'm about to tell you why. I know that when we stop our children from crying, we come really from a loving place. I know that if you stop your child from crying, it's because you love him and because you think that crying is painful or crying is bad for the child and it's something that we should stop, or because maybe you're afraid that by crying, that his crying is bothering other people, or maybe it causes you anxiety to hear him cry. So today I want to explain why it is important to let our child cry when he hurts himself. Well, the fall itself and the pain that results from it cause the body to produce some stress hormones. And you know that when you're falling off or even just stumbling on something, you find yourself in a state of shock for a few seconds, right? You're startled, your heartbeat increases, and you might put your hand on your heart and think, whoa, ooh, that was scary for a second, right? And so when this happens, it's the body that is producing a fast stress response for you to react quickly and find your balance again, right? So it's something very useful. But stress hormones are uncomfortable for the body, and it can be toxic in large amounts as well. So our bodies are built to release stress hormones straight after the stressful event. And how does the body release stress hormones? Well, through crying mostly, through talking, laughing, sweating, moving, and yawning also. But I believe that the crying is the most efficient way to release stress. And this is the reason why after a stressful event or a stressful day, we feel like crying, or we need to talk about it, or we're just laughing hysterically. And this is just our body trying to release stress. So when our child is falling, it is a very healthy reaction for him to cry, and it is important that we let him cry as much as he needs. Only he knows how much he needs to cry to release all the stress that has been accumulating in his body. And so what can we do while our child is crying? Well, what we recommend with aware parenting is that we give our full attention to the child. We avoid distracting him or feeding him. We keep calm and we breathe, because if we get anxious and nervous, it can frighten our child, and that doesn't help the situation. So really keep calm and breathe and stay with him, stay with your child. Really accept the crying, listen to him. Look at his eyes with compassion and acknowledge his feelings. You can tell him things like, I see it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Or you got really scared when you fall off the swing, right? You got really scared, I see that. Unless, of course, he's badly hurt and needs some immediate care. But if it's just a scratch or wound, you can do all this and staying with him and accepting the crying and acknowledging his feelings while you're cleaning the wound or attending his cut and helping him go through that, right? So what we recommend not to do is to overreact or get anxious, because this is scary for our children, right? So keep calm and breathing. What I don't recommend to do neither is to deny his feelings. Like if you tell him something like, you're okay, it's not that bad, come on, you're okay. This is really confusing for a child, because his body is telling him that he is in pain. He's in pain, but the adult, the parent, is telling him that he's fine. What to believe? What to believe, his body or his parents? Like, it doesn't need this kind of confusion. So it's much better to acknowledge his feelings and really let him know that he's heard and that we're here with him and we see that he's suffering. So tell him, I see you're not okay. I see you're scared. I see you're in pain. I see you're hurt. Another thing we don't recommend to do, is to ask him to talk instead of crying, right? Because crying is a big stress release mechanism. And even if your child has all the words to talk and explain, it's still very important that he's allowed to cry when he needs to cry. But after crying, once he's done crying and he stops by himself, he will probably need to talk to understand what happened. And there you can help him. So if he's too young to understand really what happened, explain to him, help him understand. You can tell him, yeah, you've slept here. You slept here because it was wet and you fell on your bum and it really hurts. And the good thing about that is that when he has cried all he needs to cry, he'll be able to think clearly, he'll be able to analyze what happened and to learn from the experience. And this is what we want, right? We don't want that to happen again. So yeah, if he cries, it just clears out his mind and his body from stress, and he can see much clearer and can really get something out of the experience. So it's very positive. And you might notice that as you explain what happened or point at the hurt part of his body, he might need to cry some more. And you can welcome this crying too. Remember that a child never cries more than he needs to. So if he's crying, it's because he needs to release stress or because he's in pain, right? And I wonder if that ever happened to you, that your child had just a little fall, a little scratch, but he has a massive reaction to it, right? A big cry, and you feel that he's overreacting. And this is usually happening because he's using this opportunity, he's using this hurt to release uncomfortable feelings from the past. So for example, he might have had a very stressful day at daycare and he did not feel safe to cry with his caretaker. So when he's back at home with you that night and he falls off, not only the feelings about the fall and the hurt are coming out, but also all the feelings about the stress that he went through at daycare. Does that make sense? So I recommend that you welcome this crying too. Remember that if he's crying a lot with you, it's because he feels safe to do so. He knows that you're there for him, that you're listening, that you're accepting all his feelings, and that's such a beautiful gift you're offering your child. And just to finish, it is very normal for a child to focus on the pain. So it has been shown through a study that the patient in the hospital that focus on pain recover from the pain more rapidly than the patients that are trying to distract themselves from the pain, right? So it's actually a really good thing. And our children are so intuitive. They know that they need to focus on the pain, and they will show their little scratch or their little hurts to everyone in the supermarket, and they will tell you again 3 days later about it. And this is very healthy and very normal. So I just invite you to acknowledge them, acknowledge their pain, acknowledge their feelings, let them cry, and they will come out much more relaxed and much more able to analyze the whole situation so it doesn't happen again fully. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. Bye.